to tell you about, which might be on the speaker side, is we are looking at the first nor'easter of 2025 that is heading as we get into the weekend. So this is not for today, but I want to let you know, as the special weather statement has just been issued for much of the province of Newfoundland, certainly for areas like St. John's in the Avalon Peninsula, Burin, that we are going to be seeing that. It's just sort of getting organized further to the south right now, but it will be tracking late Saturday into Sunday, and this will be an event for you until Monday. But in the meantime, you can see there's already a lot happening on our radar. This is a look at our temperatures across the country. If you're just wondering if this is your Mondayest of Thursday and you are just getting up and getting ready to head out the door, very cold in the prairies. I would say the colder air is shifted down closer towards much of Saskatchewan at this point, but we do have an extreme cold warning for parts of Alberta that I will share with you coming up. And this is how it feels. It feels like minus 35 this morning with the wind chill. If you are in Regina, minus 10 if you're in Ottawa. And what we're looking at is the milder temperatures really being in place for most of Atlantic Canada. We have a myriad of warnings in place already for things that are happening today. Still holding on to those wind warnings for Newfoundland. We have the Wreckhouse wind warning. These should be dropped in the next little while. 120 kilometer-hour winds that we have here in place for the St. George's area. And then we also have a wind warning in effect a little bit further north up the coast. The winds are a little lower there. Rainfall warning in effect for the Channel Port aux Basques area and for Atlantic portions of Quebec. And this is where heavy rain is ongoing today. So this is greater amounts, 20 to 40 in that range versus the 10 to 20 that you'll be seeing in and around St. John's. And then we have winter storm watches, weather advisories in and around the Quebec City region. In around the Saguenay, and then snowfall warnings just adjacent to Montreal in southern Quebec, where we see this storm that's moving through today, bringing that heavier snowfall, gustier winds. It's basically snow and blowing snow and varying amounts of that in the province of Quebec that you're seeing for the most part right now, unless you're quite far to the east, and that is giving us poor conditions on the road. So here's a look at your temperatures across the board for the next 3 days if you are in Atlantic Canada, and snow squalls are what we're dealing with for those of us in the Great Lakes region. You can see those on your radar really setting up off both the upper and the lower Great Lakes. And we have warnings and watches associated with this. In some cases, this is in excess of 60 centimeters of snow. Further to the north, we're in a winter weather travel advisory. It's a little bit less, so somewhere near 5 to 10. But what you do need to know is that this is heavy amounts of snow, poor visibility, poor conditions on the road if you're in those areas to the lee of the upper Great Lakes, including the Sault Ste. Marie area, and you need to be careful on the roads today. Now here's a look at your local weather conditions across Canada. And your temperature will actually be dropping a bit during the day, likely landing somewhere around 1 degree by the time we hit 5 p.m. But lots to talk about in terms of your weather. We are dealing with one area of low pressure that is bringing the rain, the gusty winds, and some snowfall to Atlantic Canada. And there's another one on the way, specifically that nor'easter I was talking about. So we will look at that coming up. But by the time we get to this afternoon, this is what we're looking at. We do have a fair bit of rainfall on the way for those of us in Newfoundland. I would say 10 to 20 millimeters, very likely, just to the northeast of Corner Brook here. This is where we start seeing, in the Northern Peninsula, start seeing a mix of precipitation or snow working in by this afternoon. But for the most part, that's rain. But there is colder air circulating in behind this. If we look at the Maritimes, this is when we start to change over to snowfall in behind. Dropping temperatures, we get the snowfall throughout New Brunswick, through much of Nova Scotia. By the time we get to the evening in Cape Breton, you're picking that up. Still some showers here and there for PEI. You do get some snowfall through the evening. And then by, I would say, close to midnight, we start to see the dropping temperatures, especially in Newfoundland as well. So areas that have already received heavy rainfall, 20 to 40 millimeters of it, just along the southern shore here, are going to start to see that change over to snowfall. So all in all, the mild weather coming to an end, temperatures dropping. We start to see snowfall continuing. There's certainly some onshore flow that we're dealing with throughout the region. And then we start to look at the next system getting organized late Friday, and that's this nor'easter, which will be tracking northwards towards Newfoundland. So we do have a special weather statement in place now. Totals in terms of snowfall and wind speeds are not really determined yet, but we know these systems are very potent and it will have quite an effect. So we're looking at overnight Saturday into Sunday, lasting into Monday, heavy snowfall, very gusty winds, and poor conditions for travel on the road. So be aware of that if you are in Newfoundland. And of course, if you're in areas like Cape Breton, you're going to feel the effects of this as well. In behind this system in Ontario, we've had much colder air start to flood in, and that colder air, that flow of air out of the northwest over the relatively warmer lakes, waters of the Great Lakes, it has ignited some snow squalls. So that is ongoing and will be into today. So there's already been a heavy amount of snow there. We do see that those squalls continuing to set up really right into the evening. So totals of 60 centimeters or more. If you're in these traditional areas that see these squalls, it's not out of the question. We're also seeing quite a bit of activity just to the east of Montreal. We're seeing heavier snowfall there. There is a snowfall warning where you're seeing in excess of 20 centimeters. I'll break more of that down for you coming up. But now here's a look at today's daytime highs across the country. Seeing heavy amounts of snowfall in areas to the north and west of the city of Toronto, areas adjacent to the upper Great Lakes, because snow squalls are an issue. But in terms of things feeling more wintry and the overall pattern in the upper atmosphere, we have, as you can see, quite a deep pool of Arctic air that is sinking to the south and to the east, and with it, temperatures are dropping. So we have seen extreme cold in places like Alberta. We have seen the warning there drop this morning. It's a bit colder in Saskatchewan this morning, but we are looking at temperatures getting significantly colder for Ontario, Quebec, and into Atlantic Canada. And we talked before the break about that potential of a nor'easter that is making its way in to the region as we get into the next couple of days. And that is something that we do need to think about. And I will let you know exactly how that is going to play out in the next little while. So let's take a look at that. Just having a bit of there we go. This is our current radar. So there's a lot to talk about now, and then there's more happening as we get into the weekend. So throughout the Maritimes right now, dealing with some rainfall through Nova Scotia, extending up through along the Fundy shores into PEI. On the backside of this, we have snowfall tapping into colder air. So the precipitation is translating into snow. Heavy rain in the Channel Port aux Basques area, we're looking at somewhere in the range of 30 to 35 millimeters of rain. And this is happening on top of ground that was already partially frozen at least, or frozen. So localized flooding is a concern. Very gusty winds as well in the area. So we have those wreckhouse wind warning. This should be dropped later on today, and that does extend a little bit further to the north and west, slightly less gusty winds. 120 kilometers here, about 90 to 100 kilometer-hour winds there. So that also does cause some concerns for the coast in terms of storm surges, things like that. Here are the rainfall warnings that we have in effect also for Atlantic regions of Quebec. And then weather advisories as we look into areas a little bit further to the north and to the east. Some snowfall for Labrador. Snowfall heavier in nature just to the southeast of Montreal. That's where we're seeing up to 20 centimeters. We do have a weather advisory in effect for the Saguenay and for the Quebec City region. These are areas that are seeing some blowing snow, poor driving conditions, and a winter storm watch adjacent to James Bay. This is the special weather statement that we have in place for the northeaster. This is arriving Saturday overnight into Sunday, and the conditions will be in place until Monday in Newfoundland. So this is going to be, at this point, undetermined, but heavy amounts of snow, very gusty winds, poor driving conditions. If you live in Atlantic Canada, you know what a nor'easter can do, so you know that these are going to be difficult driving conditions for sure. So be aware of that. Temperatures are going to be dropping in the next little while in the Maritimes as well, and then eventually in Newfoundland. Coming up, Bitcoin's been having a moment, so we'll look ahead to what we can expect in the new year in the Great Lakes region, and we also have some pretty heavy system-based snow for portions of Quebec and also northern New Brunswick. If we put this in motion over the next little while, you can see that gets even heavier. We do have some winter storm concerns in areas adjacent to James Bay, but really heavy squalls coming off Georgian Bay and Lake Huron, as well as Lake Superior if you're in the Sault Ste. Marie area. So be aware of that. I'll have your full weather forecast coming up in 10 minutes, but here's a quick look at your daytime highs around the country. Welcome back to your morning. Well, just before the break, we saw a live look at Wasaga Beach, and that is one of the areas under a snow squall warning right now, seeing up to 60 centimeters of snow in these squalls. So I want to show you sort of how this is playing out, and then we'll look elsewhere in the country. We've had this twist of low pressure move through. It is currently bringing system-based snow, a bit of an onshore flow here to parts of Quebec. And these are areas that are, there are a myriad of watches and warnings. We'll go through those in a bit, but we are seeing, especially just south of Montreal, or just to the southeast of Montreal. A fair bit of snowfall there and along Atlantic regions, blowing and drifting snow causing poor visibility on the roads, gusty winds. But what you can really distinctly make out here is because of the winds out of the northwest that have come in behind the system, it's ushered in much colder air. And this colder air out of the northwest is traveling over the relatively warmer waters of the Great Lakes. And that is giving us these bands of snow squalls, not only in areas adjacent to Georgian Bay and Lake Huron, but also Lake Superior. So Sault Ste. Marie definitely seeing a fair bit of snowfall this morning in those squalls. You are in a warning, as are areas really entirely adjacent to Lake Huron and Georgian Bay, where you're in the direct line of these winds coming off out of the northwest. So up to 60 centimeters of snow. And the thing with these squalls, as you know, it's not just the snow totals, it's that they can shift and you can go from visibility to near zero visibility very quickly on the road. So do be aware of that. This is also flurries as we head a little bit further to the south and the east. So the Greater Toronto area, seeing those, and we'll likely eventually see that moving a little bit further to the south as well. We're getting some clearing in the Ottawa region today, really through eastern Ontario, and eventually you'll see that in the Sault Ste. Marie area. So you will get a little more sunshine there. It is colder than it was. Still a fair bit of cloud cover as we head into tomorrow. For those of us in southern Quebec, really throughout the province, we're seeing blizzard-like conditions adjacent to James Bay. And these squalls, by the way, do continue into tomorrow and Saturday. So be aware of that. It's going to be a tricky setup for travel, as will it be through Atlantic Canada. Now, we have heavy rainfall right now in parts of Newfoundland. There are warnings in effect for there. These are also areas in southern Newfoundland experiencing very gusty winds. And there's a potential for localized flooding there. That front passes through to St. John's, the Avalon, the Burin Peninsula, further off to the east. We get some snow to the north here, north and east of Corner Brook, and flurries working their way in through the Maritimes today. What we do see as we get into the next little while is this system moves off. We stay with that cooler air and some flurries, but now we're waiting for the advance of this nor'easter, which is tracking towards Newfoundland as we get into early Saturday morning, or Sunday morning, I should say. Keep your votes coming for your favorite sidebar of the year. Will it be this one? Are in eastern Alberta, such as Lethbridge. These are areas that you're going to be really feeling that deep freeze. And you can see this represented on our temperature contours map. This area that's sort of in this magenta color, this is the coldest air that we do have in place right now. There are actually some warnings throughout the north where some areas will be experiencing wind chills in excess of -50. And there were areas to the northwest of Edmonton through the overnight period that were also in a similar warning for those wind chills in excess of -50 or in the vicinity of. That has now been dropped, but it still feels like -25 in Edmonton this morning. It feels like -43 in Yellowknife, -37 in Whitehorse, and -36 if you're in Regina, and it just got 1 degree feeling colder in Winnipeg at -22. So we are starting to feel more like winter as well in the eastern half of the country, as you can see. And I wanted to take you on a little bit of a tour of the warnings that we have in place throughout the country, because there are many of them. Very gusty winds this morning still in Newfoundland. This should be dropped later today. Somewhere between 120 and 100 kilometer gusts, heavy rainfall, about 35 millimeters here in southern portions of Newfoundland in around the Channel Port aux Basques area. That's on top of already frozen ground, so there is concerns about localized flooding. This system also bringing heavy snowfall to areas of southern Quebec, in areas just to the northeast of Montreal, I would say, heading over towards the townships, you'll see that. And then in the Saguenay region near Quebec City, a weather advisory for snow, blowing snow, difficult conditions on the road, and a winter storm watch for tomorrow in areas adjacent to James Bay. Nor'easter making its way towards Newfoundland for early Sunday through Monday, and this is heavy snow, gusty winds, so be aware of that. And then snow squalls are a concern for those of us in Ontario today in areas adjacent to the Upper Great Lakes, to the lee of Lake Superior, Georgian Bay, and Lake Huron. These are areas seeing up to 60 centimeters of snow, whiteout conditions, very gusty winds. You know how these work. If you live in these areas, you can get near zero visibility very quickly. So that stands through today and will go through the weekend. Temperatures are getting colder as we get into the weekend throughout the region as well, getting below normal. And that's where we already are in areas in and around Saskatchewan and also Alberta. You can see those current temperatures and where we're going today, high of just -27 in Saskatoon. So here are those areas in the Northwest Territories and Yukon Territory that are in those ranges of -50 wind chill. And for BC, we do have some showers for the coast into the interior, a little bit clear clear, a lot of cloud cover. Temperatures are getting a little bit cooler for the next couple of days, especially in coastal areas. Now, here's a quick look at daytime highs across the country. Cancun right now, as my friends Cal and Sam are. They were just at the gym at the resort in Cancun, and they were playing Your Morning on the television and sent me a picture of me with the beach in the background, which was nice because it's almost like I was on the beach in Cancun, but not quite. But you guys enjoy that. Good morning to you wherever you are around the world or across the country. Here's a look at your current temperatures, and you'll notice considerably colder in the eastern half of the country than we have been, and it is very cold in the western half of the country. Specifically, looking at Regina this morning, feeling like minus 36, feeling like minus 46 if you're in Yellowknife. There are extreme cold warnings in Northwest Territories and in parts of Yukon Territory. So let's take a look at how things are playing out in the next little while in terms of especially the coast of BC, but into the interior. We do have some rainfall starting to the day. This is going to translate as temperatures drop a little bit, certainly as snow in the higher elevations, but even a little bit lower as we get in terms of elevation near in south coastal areas for those of us in British Columbia. If you're in, sort of Vancouver, Metro Vancouver into Victoria, this is mostly a rainfall event for you, but you can see as we get inland a little bit further into the interior tonight, we are dealing with some snowfall. So be aware of that. It is going to be something that's enough to accumulate on the road, so you want to make sure you proceed with caution. That does start to clear out as we get into the day on Friday, but then there's another system that starts to move in from the south. We do get some rainfall with that, and again, snowfall into the interior. And even in sort of the higher elevations in coastal areas, you're likely going to see some snowfall with that. Most of a rain event, though, for Metro Vancouver and Victoria. And then it's going to be cloudy, but still a little bit clearer further to the north into the interior. So another round on the way, of course, as well on Saturday, late overnight into Sunday. And this plays out similarly. It does approach from the east, the west, I should say. But we are looking at, again, this being sort of rain for those lower elevations, snow in the coastal areas. So several rounds of precipitation, depending on where you are in the southern portion of the province that are going to be affecting you. That one Saturday night is going to be a little bit higher up. So snow squalls are the order of the day and really right into the weekend for those of us in the Great Lakes region. If you're in Sault Ste. Marie or in areas that are to the lee of Lake Huron and Georgian Bay, these are areas that are getting up to 60 centimeters of snow in these squalls through today. There are warnings in place, so be aware of that. We'll get some clearing actually for eastern Ontario extending up towards Sault Ste. Marie, and you'll see those squalls sort of shift in direction later on, and you'll get a break from them there. But watch as we get into Friday night and Saturday. They do stay with us, and this is poor visibility on the roads and lots of snow to shovel. Now here's a look at some of your local weather conditions.
Chances are you may have popped in to see a movie at the theater over your holiday break, but did you catch the trailers before the movie?
Slow your breathing down for me, okay? You're pushing too hard. Begin equalization.
I love this. So Arkel's sharing this video of frontman Max Kerman's dad at the movies. Well, you can see him. His eyes are shut. He's got his headphones on during the trailers. He's listening to Tom Petty instead of watching the trailers. He doesn't want any spoilers. Yeah. So question for everybody this morning. Do you go to the movie theater early to catch all the trailers? Let us know. We've got a WhatsApp poll up right now. Here's the QR code. You can scan that anytime and weigh in.
Yeah, give it a scan.
Give it a scan. Okay. So let's hear it.
So I have never seen someone do this before. And not only do I go to watch the trailers, but we actively seek out trailers at home on the internet to watch them, to get excited about the movies that are coming.
Yeah.
So wait, so when you get to the theater, because I have talked on the show about I have an issue.
What's your ish?
My issue is play the trailers before the movie start time. Right. I don't like to, the movie starts at 4. I don't understand why we're sitting through 20 minutes of trailers.
Yes.
Maybe even more than that before the movie starts.
Yeah.
I like trailers, but but I want the movie to start when the movie's supposed to start.
Yeah, but the movie studios want you there for it.
Of course they do.
Give the people a choice.
Okay, you love trailers too.
I love trailers. I'm like Michelle. I seek them out online. I think a powerful trailer is really amazing. It's kind of an art form in and of itself. I do get a little annoyed by some of the spoilery stuff. Like, I'll tell you, I was recently watching the movie September 5th, which is a great film, very heavy, but it's about the 1972 Munich terrorist attack and massacre. Before the film, though, they obviously played some trailers. I love being there for them. I get there for them. I get very excited. But they played 2 trailers of films that I really want to see. The first one is for the Robbie Williams biopic, Better Man.
Do you want to see that?
Which looks really good. At the beginning, though, everybody watching the trailer is snickering a bit, because as you can see there, Robbie Williams is played by a CGI chimp. And so it's like a weird, it's like this kind of weird little device that they're using. But people are absolutely loving this film. It's in the 90% on Rotten Tomatoes. This trailer...
Wait, the whole time he's played
the whole time,
I didn't know that.
People are saying it's very powerful, and it's a really risky move. I'm okay with this trailer kind of showing the arc because it's based on a real person. But then they played the trailer for The Brutalist, a film I'm very, very excited about. And we spoke with the director last week. This trailer, it annoyed me a little bit because it's an amazing trailer, but it basically shows the whole character arc in the film. This is not based on a real person. It's a fictionalized account of many people's different journeys post-World War II. So I thought this one spoiled a bit much. Still stoked to see it, but showed me too much. And I don't love when a trailer does that. Obviously, like Max Kerman's dad doesn't like that.
It can be concerning also when you feel like, am I seeing all the best parts of the movie in this trailer?
That's what I wondered.
A bit of a flag.
Still going to see it, but...
still going to see it.
It's almost like you've seen it.
Yeah, well, kind of, because you kind of see the arc and you're like, oh, I kind of can see what happens.
Yeah.
But it does look really good, and a good trailer can be powerful.
I don't remember. We did go to the movies over the holidays. I don't know if either of you... I did, we went to go see Sonic 3 because it was my son's choice.
Yeah.
He's very invested in this series.
Oh, so cute.
And then the other thing is it's not just trailers, it's about Easter eggs, because in my family... Between my husband and my son, we have to sit in a certain spot in the theater. We have to be right in the middle. We have to be aligned with the optimal viewing.
That's so funny.
And then we have to stay for all of the post-credit Easter egg sort of scenes at the end of the movie, of which there were 2.
I love that.
So your movie experience is like 17 hours.
Like,
because you're there for the do you just stay for the next movie?
Thank God there are snacks.
I bet you planned that out too.
Exactly.
I love this.
Quickly, what's the go-to snack?
The go-to snack is still popcorn for us, but I need a little chocolate as well.
Oh, look at that.
You're a purist, but you like to change it up.
Yeah,
Love
I
it.
do.
Your morning fix is after the break. Stay with us. Oh, Diane, thanks for sending that in. That is the sound of winter to me.
Yes, you see that. I
Feels
love
freezing.
that.
Beautiful, though.
Yeah.
Beautiful, and probably even more snow for you today, Diane, in Wasaga Beach. So that is something you can perhaps look forward to or not, depending on your preferences. But we do love getting your videos. That's our preference, that you film one, you send it in, we share it with Canada. You can upload them by scanning this QR code here. We'd love to see your little corner of Canada.
Love that.
Ooh, also, we've got another way to participate today. We've got a WhatsApp poll, the QR code here. What is our poll today? We've got a couple up right now. We've got the sidebar of the year, which is really exciting. We've got 4 options that you can vote on. So September, October, November, December.
They're all real good.
They're really good. So we need your help because we're going to be voting for the ultimate sidebar of the year tomorrow. The other WhatsApp poll was from earlier on this morning when we were chatting. What were we chatting about? Movie previews.
Yes.
You like watching the previews and the trailers before the film when you go to the theaters, so you can weigh in on that conversation as
That's a divisive one, that's for sure.
It really is.
Yeah. Thank you for voting and for sending in your greetings. And hey, Diane, thanks for putting yourself on camera, too. That was awesome. So you said it just looked cold there, right? All right, let's turn to some of the top news stories we're following for you this morning. And we want to go to South Korea right now. Do you ever do the polar bear dip? Cold plunges are a thing. Would you ever do this?
I've done a cold plunge. I don't think I would do this.
You wouldn't do this.
What's the difference?
Yeah, what's the diff?
This one's faster. You're like,
it is. Yeah, there is. I also I don't love going in Lake Ontario that much, which is my other issue.
It's the lake
another day. But yeah, it's not my favorite lake to paddle around in. But yeah, how about yourselves? Would you
to paddle around in like a little seal?
That's how I swim too. I've never done a cold plunge.
Yeah,
you've never done it ever?
No, I haven't. A good friend of mine, Cynthia, from the social. She does cold plunges a lot, and she often kind of asks me to come along. I always make an excuse to get out of it because it's not really my bag.
Meet you there.
But I got to try it. I got to try it.
I did one the other day, and like intentionally.
Was this your first one?
No, I mean like I've done. I don't do them.
Okay.
But I've gone into cold area. Like the lake is cold.
So you went into
what do you define as like a cold plunge? Like a lake is cold in June.
Question.
It's its own thing. Now,
what is the threshold? Yeah. How did you do?
I know. I actually stayed in longer than I thought.
Wow.
Like, this is one of those places that has the things outside, like hot and cold pools. And I was in there for like over 3 minutes.
Oh my God, well done.
Went numb.
Yeah.
I really did.
Full body numbness.
But it did feel good, I have to say. But I'm not one of those people that can make it a regular thing, but I'll do it if it's
sleep
around.
really well afterwards, though.
Yeah.
I did find that like my sleep was, I slept for like 13 hours the night after I did.
Maybe that's the key.
I'm a really bad sleeper all my life, so I gotta do the cold plunge.
Yeah, maybe that's the answer.
Cynthia, there you go.
Here you come.
Boom.
All right. Well, on the topic of cold, we're going to talk about snow. I'm going to take a look at what's happening in terms of our projected snowfall for the next little while. We do have quite a lot coming up, so let's take a look at how things are playing.